There is a force, unseen yet powerful, that holds so many back from the fullness of their potential. It is not the world outside, nor the challenges that arise, but something subtler, something within. Ignorance is not merely the absence of knowledge. It is the unconscious resistance to truth, the quiet refusal to see what is already present. It is not knowing that you do not know. And in that space, opportunity, growth, and transformation slip through unseen, unfelt, unrecognized. Success is not a destination, not an achievement to be grasped, but a state of clarity and alignment with what is. The obstacle is never the world, never circumstances, never others. It is the unexamined patterns, the unquestioned assumptions, the inherited beliefs that shape what is possible for you. What you do not know controls you more than what you do. The walls that confine you are not built by others, but by the limitations that remain unquestioned in your own mind. Awareness is the key, not effort. A person may work tirelessly, push endlessly, yet remain stuck because movement without understanding is a circle, a repetition of the same. But the moment one becomes conscious, truly conscious, the moment one sees, really sees, what has been invisible, the walls disappear. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. What once felt distant reveals itself to have been within reach all along. Ignorance is not simply the absence of knowledge. It is something far more subtle, far more pervasive. It is not just about what a person does not know, but about what they do not even realize they do not know. This makes it particularly dangerous because it is not a gap that one actively seeks to fill. Instead, it is an invisible barrier shaping perception, limiting vision, and dictating choices without ever being questioned. It operates silently, unnoticed, yet its influence is profound, determining the trajectory of a person's life without them ever realizing its presence. A mind trapped in ignorance is not aware of its own limitations. It believes it sees the whole picture, but it does not. It assumes it understands the world as it is, but in reality, it only perceives a narrow fragment shaped by past conditioning, external influences, and deeply ingrained patterns. The individual moves through life making decisions based on incomplete understanding, never questioning the validity of their thoughts, never suspecting that what they accept as reality might be nothing more than an illusion, constructed by unchallenged assumptions. The greatest deception of ignorance is the illusion of knowledge. A person may feel confident in their perspectives, convinced that they know what they need to know, unaware that their certainty is built on a foundation of half-truths and misconceptions. This creates resistance. The mind, believing it already understands, does not seek further clarity. It does not question, does not explore, does not open itself to deeper awareness. And so the very thing that could lead to growth and transformation remains out of reach, not because it is unavailable, but because it is unseen. Ignorance also thrives in comfort. The human mind gravitates toward the familiar, finding security in what it already knows. Even if that knowledge is flawed or incomplete, it provides a sense of stability. Challenging one's own beliefs, stepping into the unknown, embracing new perspectives. These things require discomfort. And so ignorance is often protected not because it is valuable, but because it feels safe. The mind resists anything that threatens its current understanding, even if that understanding is what is keeping it trapped. Society reinforces this by rewarding conformity. From an early age, people are taught what to think rather than how to think. They are given systems of belief, structures of knowledge, prepackaged ideas about success, happiness, and purpose. These ideas become the lens through which they see the world. But what if the lens itself is distorted? What if the very foundation upon which a person builds their life is based on inherited misconceptions? The individual never stops to ask because they do not realize there is a question to be asked. Fear also plays a role. To confront ignorance is to admit that one has been operating under false assumptions. This requires humility, the willingness to say, I was wrong. It demands the courage to dismantle long-held beliefs, to step outside the comfort of certainty, to enter a space of not knowing. And yet, in that space, in that openness, lies the possibility of true understanding. But fear prevents many from ever getting there. The fear of being wrong, of looking foolish, of losing a sense of identity tied to familiar beliefs, these keep a person clinging to ignorance, even when it no longer serves them. Ignorance does not just limit knowledge, it limits perception, creativity, and possibility. It narrows the path, closing off opportunities before they can even be recognized. It creates blind spots, places in life where one stumbles again and again, never realizing that the obstacle is not external but internal. It is not that success is out of reach, but that it is unseen. The mind, unaware of its own ignorance, does not look in the right direction. It does not ask the right questions. It does not recognize that the missing piece is not something external to be gained, but something internal to be uncovered. Success is often seen as an external pursuit, something to be achieved through effort, strategy, and persistence. It is commonly associated with tangible accomplishments, wealth, recognition, status, or the realization of specific goals. Yet, beneath all these outward markers lies something deeper, something more fundamental. Success is not merely the result of external achievements. It is at its core a state of clarity. It is not just about what one attains, but about how one perceives, understands, and aligns with the reality of what is. Many people chase success as if it is something separate from them, something that exists somewhere in the future, something to be grasped through struggle and relentless pursuit. They measure their progress through results, through milestones, through comparisons with others. But what if success is not something that is reached, but something that is recognized? What if the real difference between those who experience success and those who do not is not a matter of effort, but a matter of awareness? Clarity allows a person to see what is already available, to recognize the opportunities that exist in the present moment, to understand the patterns of cause and effect that shape their reality. Without clarity, effort becomes scattered, directionless, reactive rather than intentional. A person may work hard, push forward, try to force outcomes, but if they are operating from a place of confusion, from a place of misunderstanding, they are simply running in circles. The external world is always a reflection of the internal state. When the mind is clouded, when perception is distorted by assumptions, fears, and illusions, success remains elusive. Not because it is impossible, but because it is unseen. Clarity is not just about intellectual understanding. It is about alignment. It is about seeing beyond the distractions, beyond the noise, beyond the conditioned beliefs that keep one trapped in limitation. It is about recognizing what truly matters, what is essential, and what is merely an illusion of importance. So much time is spent chasing things that do not actually lead to fulfillment, pursuing definitions of success that have been inherited rather than consciously chosen. But when a person has clarity, they no longer waste energy on what does not serve them. They do not need to force success because they are in alignment with it. Misalignment creates struggle. When actions are not rooted in clarity, they become reactive, driven by external pressures rather than inner understanding. A person without clarity follows paths dictated by others, makes decisions based on fleeting emotions, and becomes entangled in unnecessary complexity. They seek solutions outside themselves, believing that success is something they must acquire rather than something they must uncover. But clarity removes the excess, stripping away what is false and leaving only what is true. When a person sees clearly, they move with purpose, not because they are forcing outcomes, but because they are aligned with what is natural and inevitable. The most significant shifts happen not when one does more, but when one sees differently. A single moment of clarity can dissolve years of struggle. It can illuminate a path that was always there but previously overlooked. It can reveal that what seemed distant was in fact within reach all along. This is why success is not an external achievement alone, but a state of being, a way of seeing, A deep internal shift that transforms not just what one does, but how one experiences life itself. When clarity is present, success is no longer something separate, something to be chased. It is a natural outcome of alignment with truth. Beliefs and assumptions shape perception in ways that often go unnoticed. From the moment a person is born, they are immersed in a world of inherited ideas. Ideas about success, failure, worth, and possibility. These beliefs are absorbed without question, forming the foundation upon which all thoughts, decisions, and actions are built. They become filters through which reality is experienced, defining what is seen, what is ignored, what is pursued, and what is avoided. Yet, despite their powerful influence, they are rarely examined. They operate in the background, directing life without conscious awareness. A person who never questions their assumptions unknowingly limits themselves. They walk through life with invisible boundaries, believing that certain opportunities are beyond their reach, that success must come in a specific form, that they are only capable of what they have been told they are capable of. These beliefs are not necessarily true, but because they are unchallenged, they feel like absolute reality. What a person believes to be impossible, they do not attempt. What they assume to be difficult, they approach with hesitation. What they think is beyond them, they dismiss before ever taking action. In this way, unexamined beliefs become silent barriers, dictating the course of a person's life without them realizing it. Many of these beliefs are formed in early childhood, passed down by parents, teachers, culture, and society. They are absorbed long before the mind is capable of questioning them. If a child is told repeatedly that success is difficult, that money is scarce, that opportunities are limited, they internalize these messages as truth. If they grow up in an environment where risk is discouraged, where failure is seen as shameful, where stepping outside the norm is met with resistance, they learn to fear the unknown. They develop a subconscious tendency to stay within the lines, to follow predetermined paths, to avoid questioning the status quo. Over time, these beliefs solidify into a rigid framework, shaping decisions without conscious thought. Even as adults, people continue to operate under these inherited patterns. They may feel frustrated, stuck, unable to break free from cycles of limitation, yet they do not realize that the true obstacle is not external circumstances, but the assumptions they hold about those circumstances. They may blame lack of resources, lack of opportunity, or external challenges, never considering that their perception of these obstacles is itself a product of conditioned thinking. The mind tends to seek confirmation of its existing beliefs, reinforcing them through experience. If a person believes they are not capable of something, they will unconsciously act in ways that confirm that belief. They will hesitate, sabotage, or dismiss opportunities before fully exploring them. Unexamined beliefs also dictate how people interpret failure. When failure is seen as a reflection of personal inadequacy rather than a natural part of growth, it becomes a reason to retreat rather than a lesson to be learned. When challenges are viewed as confirmation of limitation rather than opportunities for expansion, they reinforce the very fears that keep a person stagnant. Assumptions about what is possible, what is deserving, and what is achievable create an invisible framework that dictates reality. Those who succeed are not necessarily more capable, more talented, or more fortunate. Often they are simply those who have questioned the beliefs that others accept without thought. They have recognized that the only true limitations are the ones that go unchallenged, the ones that shape perception so subtly that they feel like truth itself. The power to shift reality begins with the power to question, to step back and observe the patterns that have been unconsciously followed, to ask whether the beliefs that have shaped one's life are truly one's own or merely borrowed from others. To recognize that the mind is not an objective observer of reality, but an interpreter. Filtering the world through a lens is shaped by past experiences, social conditioning, and inherited assumption. The moment awareness enters, the moment these beliefs are brought into the light, their power begins to dissolve. What once seemed impossible becomes possible, not because the external world has changed, but because the way it is perceived has shifted. Effort is often seen as the primary driver of success. The belief that working harder, pushing more, and doing everything possible will eventually lead to breakthrough results is deeply ingrained in the way people approach their goals. Yet, effort without awareness is like running on a treadmill. It creates exhaustion without forward movement. Many people spend years striving, struggling, and forcing their way towards success only to find themselves stuck in the same cycles, unable to break free. They assume that if they just push harder, things will change. But without awareness, effort alone does not lead to transformation. It simply reinforces the same patterns, keeping a person trapped in a loop of repetition. Without awareness, a person may work tirelessly in the wrong direction, invest energy into pursuits that do not align with their true potential, and repeat mistakes without realizing why. They may mistake busyness for progress, thinking that action alone is enough to create success. But action, when rooted in misunderstanding, leads only to frustration. A person may work hard at a job they dislike, believing that financial security will bring fulfillment, only to realize that they are deeply unhappy despite their achievements. They may chase goals that were never truly theirs to begin with, shaped by societal expectations rather than genuine passion. They may repeat the same ineffective strategies, unaware that their approach is flawed, and mistake effort for effectiveness. Awareness allows for clarity. It reveals the patterns that keep a person stuck, the unconscious fears that drive their decisions, and the blind spots that prevent them from seeing new possibilities. When awareness is present, effort becomes intentional. It is no longer about doing more, but about doing what actually matters. A single action taken with deep understanding is more powerful than 100 actions taken blindly. Those who succeed in a lasting and meaningful way do not simply work hard. They work with clarity. They do not force outcomes, they align with them. They recognize when persistence is needed and when change is necessary. They understand that movement without direction is wasted energy. Effort without awareness also creates resistance. When a person pushes forward without understanding, they encounter unnecessary struggle. They fight against circumstances instead of flowing with them. They try to control outcomes rather than understanding the deeper forces at play. The more they push, the more resistance they create, mistaking struggle for progress. But awareness dissolves resistance. It allows a person to see where they are holding on too tightly, where they are forcing what does not need to be forced, and where they are making things harder than they need to be. It shifts effort from a state of struggle to a state of flow. There is a difference between effort that is aligned and effort that is reactive. Reactive effort comes from fear, from insecurity, from the need to prove something or avoid failure. It is driven by external pressures, by comparison, by the belief that success requires suffering. Aligned effort, on the other hand, comes from deep knowing. It is not rushed, not frantic, not rooted in desperation. It is intentional, focused, and efficient. It is not about how much is done, but about whether what is being done is truly necessary. Many of the greatest breakthroughs happen not when a person does more, but when they see more. A single shift in perspective can accomplish what years of hard work could not. A moment of clarity can remove obstacles that effort alone could never overcome. Without awareness, a person may feel like they are constantly pushing forward, yet getting nowhere. They may feel drained, exhausted, unable to understand why their hard work is not translating into results. They may feel trapped in cycles of effort that never seem to lead to fulfillment. But the missing piece is never more effort, it is deeper understanding. It is the ability to step back, observe, and recognize that success is not about how much is done, but about whether what is being done is truly in alignment. Everything a person desires, everything they chase, already exists in some form. The mind, conditioned to seek and strive, operates under the illusion that what is wanted is distant, separate, or yet to be created. It sees success, happiness, and fulfillment as things that must be obtained through struggle, effort, or external validation. But this perception is not based on reality. It is shaped by the belief that one is lacking, incomplete, or in need of something outside themselves. In truth, nothing is missing. What is sought is already present, waiting to be recognized. Opportunities are not absent. They are unnoticed. The right connections, the necessary resources, the circumstances needed for growth are already in place, but without awareness, they remain invisible. A person may walk past the very thing they need every day without realizing it. They may dismiss an idea, ignore an insight, or overlook an opening because their mind is fixated on searching rather than seeing. The effort to seek often blinds a person to what is already available. The more they chase, the more they reinforce the belief that what they want is separate from them rather than something they can access in the present moment. The mind tends to look at reality through a lens of limitation. It sees what is lacking rather than what is possible. It notices obstacles rather than openings. It creates stories about why things are not working, why success is difficult, why progress is slow. These stories shape perception, making it impossible to recognize the very things that could bring about transformation. What a person believes dictates what they see. If they believe opportunity is scarce, they will overlook abundance. If they believe they are not ready, they will dismiss moments of possibility. If they believe success is something to be earned through suffering, they will ignore effortless paths that could lead them forward. Nothing outside needs to change for a breakthrough to occur. Only perception. A shift in awareness can reveal what has been present all along. When the mind becomes still, when assumptions are dropped, when the habit of searching is replaced with the practice of seeing, opportunities begin to emerge. The right ideas, the right people, the right circumstances come into focus, not because they were not there before, but because they are now being noticed. Life does not withhold success, clarity, or direction. It is always offering them, but only those who are open to receiving can recognize them. Many struggle not because they lack what they need, but because they are attached to a specific idea of how things should unfold. They expect success to come in a certain form, through a certain process, on a specific timeline. When reality does not match their expectations, they assume they are failing, or that what they seek is out of reach. But often what they want is already arriving, just not in the way they imagined. The rigid attachment to a specific path blinds them to alternate routes that may be easier, more aligned, and already available. Life is always providing what is needed for growth and success. The lessons, the challenges, the insights, the people, all are placed along the path not as obstacles but as guides. Everything that seems like a delay or setback is often a redirection towards something better. What appears to be missing is sometimes present in a different form, waiting to be recognized. The shift from seeking to seeing is the key to unlocking potential. The moment a person realizes that everything they desire already exists, they stop chasing and start aligning. They stop struggling against the present and start working with it. They begin to move with clarity, not because something new has appeared, but because they have finally noticed what was always there. Success is often seen as something that must be pursued, something that exists outside oneself, something to be attained through effort, struggle, and determination. Yet more often than not, the greatest obstacles are not external but internal. The barriers that seem to block progress are not physical walls, but limitations of perception. Awakening to truth does not create opportunities, it reveals them. It does not bring success, it allows it to be recognized. The process of transformation is not about forcing change, but about removing the distortions that prevent what is already available from being seen. The mind, conditioned by years of learned beliefs, tends to perceive reality through a narrow lens. It filters experiences through past conditioning. societal expectations, and personal fears. Because of this, people often live within self-imposed limits without realizing it. They assume success is difficult, that certain opportunities are out of reach, that their potential is defined by past experiences. These assumptions are rarely questioned, yet they shape every decision, every action, every moment. The truth is not hidden, but it remains unnoticed because the mind clings to familiar patterns, resisting anything that challenges its existing understanding. The nature of awakening is not about adding new information, but about stripping away illusions. The moment a person sees clearly, the struggles that once seemed insurmountable begin to dissolve. What felt impossible now appears within reach. What seemed confusing becomes obvious. The difference is not in the external world, but in the way it is perceived. The mind no longer looks at life through the lens of doubt, hesitation, or resistance. Instead, it recognizes that the only thing keeping success at a distance was the belief that it was distant. Many people wait for external validation before they allow themselves to believe in their own potential. They seek signs, approval, proof that they are on the right path. But truth does not come from outside. The shift happens when one stops looking outward for confirmation and instead begins to see with clarity from within. When a person trusts what they already know at the deepest level, they no longer need permission to move forward. They no longer hesitate out of fear. They no longer need to be told they are capable because they already understand that capability is not something to be granted, it is something to be realized. Doubt is one of the greatest barriers to success. It creates hesitation, confusion, and fear. It keeps a person in cycles of overthinking, second-guessing, and delaying action. Yet doubt is not a reflection of reality. It is merely a reflection of an unexamined mind. The moment one sees beyond doubt, it loses its power. It is no longer an obstacle, but simply a passing thought, no different from any other. Awakening to truth means recognizing that doubt does not need to be eliminated. It only needs to be seen for what it is. An illusion created by conditioned fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty. These fears are not real barriers, but they become barriers when they are believed in. Every limitation that exists is only as powerful as the belief that sustains it. When those beliefs are questioned, when they are exposed to the light of awareness, they begin to crumble. What was once seen as an obstacle turns out to be nothing more than a shadow, something that appeared solid only because it was never examined. Awakening to truth is not a moment of acquiring something new, but a moment of remembering what was always known. It is not about becoming someone different, but about realizing that the limitations once accepted were never real to begin with. It is the recognition that success is not something to chase, but something to align with. That clarity removes barriers more effectively than effort. That the greatest transformation comes not from struggle, but from seeing with unfiltered awareness. Success is not about chasing, struggling, or endlessly striving. It is about seeing clearly. It is about recognizing that ignorance, assumptions, and conditioned beliefs have been the true barriers all along. The mind, clouded by doubt and limitation, perceives obstacles where there are none, complexity where there is simplicity, and distance where there is only the present moment. But the moment clarity arises, the struggle dissolves. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. What was once overlooked is now obvious. Success is not something to be attained, it is something to be uncovered. The truth has always been present, waiting not to be found, but to be seen.